Hi there, Lorne Wisely here, reporting in for Two Bit Gaming. Like us and follow us on the socials. Man, I really got to get that fixed. Plug it. Anyway, on this edition of Two Beard Gaming's Wisely Reviews, Super Ledgehop Double Laser. This is a cracking little game and I can't wait to tell you all about it. So much so that once again, I have come prepared with notes. See? Look at them. Look at how numerous they are. Look at them. Look at all the notes. No. We'll get to those. Patience. Super Ledgehop Double Laser was released on the 16th of November 2018, currently priced on Steam at 79 pence or 99 cents. Ever came in a situation where you had a chance to become a cute anime girl, but for some reason thugs wanted to blast you into smithereens and the government is so corrupt, they're sending out their top tier dudes after you instead of their thugs? Well, in this game, that's exactly what you're getting. Experience the life of Chizuru, a colorblind orphan who for some reason can only see 4 specific colors. Kind of negating the colorblind part. Help her find her big bro, who happens to be a senator as well. But be careful, because the government is crazy nuts right now. Use your knowledge from rhythm games and bullet hell games to create a barrage of bullets to your enemies, while shooting to the beat of the background music. Become the better thug by stealing your opponent's bullets through waveshines. Blast through those cheeseheads with their own bullets, and show them what's up. And honestly, what I love most about this game is not just the game itself, but the developer of the game. Lame Dimensions. Sounds like a down name. Like, don't be so down on yourself. Come on now. Well, lame actually stands for Leaders at Making Everything. Bold. Not as bold as the website though, which when you click onto Lame Dimensions, they have like an RPG style page where you've got to answer a question before it'll let you in. Its own wiki page, a guest book. It has a breakdown of all the characters within the lore of Super Ledgehop Double Laser that it has in offer for you. And it has all the design qualities, it has everything. It's a brilliant little website, which bleeds into a brilliant little game, which we're going to talk about today. So, what is Super Ledgehop Double Laser? That is really not easy to say. The game is effectively a twin-stick shooter, but modeled over the aesthetic and design of an old-school JRPG or a 8-bit Game Boy game, something along those lines in terms of the aesthetics, the design work, but the control scheme is a little bit different and is probably the only gripe I have with the game. So let's start with the modes that you've got available. You've got story mode, you've got thug, wars, you've got the settings, and you've got the credit screen. Now, the story mode is where you're going to be spending all of your time in this game, and there are 4 or 5 stages, depending on how you classify the 5th stage, because that's the good ending. I didn't get the good ending, I got the bad ending, and not sure how I'm supposed to get the good ending. It's difficult because this game is a game that does not hold your hand. The combat in this game is the bread and butter. It does have story elements, but not exactly the strongest in terms of a cohesive A to B. This game has a very Scott Pilgrim style feel in terms of very erratic, all over the place, lots of movement, action, colours to a degree, even though the girl's colourblind and the game reflects that in terms of its design. It's got a very unfocused nature, but a charming unfocused nature, if that makes sense. So let's stick on the combat for a second, because again, that's the most important element to this game. The combat is effectively tuned to a beat. So music will be playing in the background, and so long as you shoot to the beat, you can actually improve the power of your weapon. You also have a mechanic where you can switch from different bullet types. You also have an absorb mechanic whereby you press at the right time. You not only defend projectiles coming towards you, but you can also absorb their ammo and use it against enemies as you go forward. Standard enemies include grunts that shoot you with standard ammo. Then you've got like ice enemies, you've got fire enemies, you've got robots, got all sorts. And to replenish your health, and you've got 3 bars. You've got health, like a mana bar, and you've got, I guess you could call it the absorb bar. So they're all 3 different things and they all run at different rates. The health obviously you replenish by picking up power-ups and indeed smashing trash cans, defeating enemies. You also have the super bar, which is activated with the super meter that you press using, I think is either the space bar. Yeah, the space bar on the mouse, and then I think it's the top button on the controller. And then obviously the standard shoot mechanics, and you can scroll through the ammo types at your leisure. The only downside to the absorb mechanic though is that it automatically defaults to the ammo type that you absorb when you might not necessarily need to use the ammo type at that moment. So it becomes a little bit frustrating at times when you're trying to save your ammo for something we're going to talk about in a second, the bosses, and yet you're wasting it on lesser enemies that you could take out reasonably easily and use the health to replenish any damage you might take. But the pace of this game is absolutely an ebb and flow sort of thing. It's not frantic all the time. It's not super slow paced. You will go into shooting galleries where it becomes like a mass of bullets and God knows what else. You're also going to have these segments where you're going to need to take your time and consider your options before you wade into battle, because there are moments where you need to employ a certain degree of strategy despite the frantic nature of the combat. Again, coming back to the ammo types, employing different strategies when you're facing the bosses. Now, we need to touch on this because the bosses are the most frustrating part of this game. Some of the bosses are, all of the bosses are, okay, they're all cheap to a certain degree. Some of them, the last one that I faced, whose name I don't have here unfortunately, was just a massive lasers pointing in every direction and fire everywhere and grids and would charge me, and it's like, I've got no way of defending myself here. The only thing you can do, the only strategy you can do with that particular boss battle, and indeed some of the boss battles that you get stuck on, is to absorb all the ammo one round, die, and then use the ammo the second round, because then you've got all of the ammo saved from the previous occasion. So you can at least stockpile it. Now I imagine that factors into the bad ending that I got, that I didn't do it one time and not die. But my God, show me how to beat that boss without dying. It's almost impossible, I would have to think, unless you have a strategy in place that I'm simply not aware of. Again, the key in my eyes with this game is to utilize the absorb mechanic in order to gain distance, to gain ammo, but then also to sort of flank your enemies and draw fire in so that you can effectively overwhelm them with their own firepower. But that's the meat and bones of the gameplay here. Fast-paced, frantic combat at times, some puzzle elements towards the back end of the game. You also have a sort of top-down shooter style game, Gallagher style game at one stage or another where you're flying through space. Again, Scott Pilgrim, don't question it. Don't question it now. And certain other elements. Now, the boss battles initiate at the end of each stage, and the bosses tie into the story as best I can tell for the main character, who is called Chizuru. Sup, cheeseheads! I meant to start the review with that, but I forgot, unfortunately. But basically, she's a carefree, happy-go-lucky, colorblind badass. And I like her attitude. She's got kind of a carefree demeanor. She has a very upfront way of speaking to people. She will call them cheeseheads and stupid and other words. I don't think she swears, but I may have missed that. And her interactions with characters are typically on the basis of coming across them and kicking their asses. They then join her on the journey and she progresses. And the idea at the initial stage of the game is to find her brother, a senator brother of hers that she needs to speak to for reasons. I won't spoil the ending for you, but effectively you progress through the game, different levels, trying to get to your brother. Now, even though the game feels short, I wouldn't say this is a short game. This is probably going to take you at least 5 or 6 hours to complete. I know this because it took me maybe 4 hours to get to the point that I'm at now. And even though it's only got 4 stages, and the stages don't feel that big, this doesn't feel like a mass expanse of a game. The levels are not wide open exploration, they're point to point. There's no secrets from what I can discern, again, apart from the trash cans and the power-ups. There's just a tremendous amount of replayability in the combat. Again, it doesn't, even when you die, it doesn't feel like you can't do it. Every time you just get that inkling, if you'd have just moved in there, if you'd have just absorbed that, or if you just used a different ammo type, you would have been absolutely fine. The music is critical to the gameplay, and again, so long as you can stick to the beat. Now, I've got to be honest, I didn't stick to the beat all that much, but if you do stick to the beat, that will increase your chances of survival a lot. We got some of the other characters here. Ichika, who's one of the bosses that you then defeat and then joins you along the way. Uncle Hype, again, he's your uncle but is a boss for some reason and then joins you in the journey. A bit of an oddball kind of character, kind of chastises you for taking long to get to certain points, even though you're like, hey dude, I'm just trying to fight here, dude, come on, let me up. But as far as the gameplay is concerned, I think we've covered that there, so let's not waste each other's, come on, we've got better things to do than just rant on about the gameplay, but it's good, don't get me wrong. I feel like I've been a bit negative towards the gameplay, but in terms of the shooting mechanics, very, very satisfying. The only caveat I would maybe add is do not play this game with a controller, play it with a keyboard and mouse. You will find that your experience has improved much, because with the controller, the sensitivity is just a bit too high, and because there's no aiming reticule on the map, it's only directional, it can be a bit tricky taking down enemies, especially when they get into close range. So yeah, maybe only use a mouse and keyboard for that. There's tons of meta jokes in the story as well. The stories are told through cutscenes that sort of pop up on the screen and the characters will talk JRPG style. It's a bit hard on the eyes the closer you get into the screen. If you have full screen mode, it's a bit overwhelming for the senses, I must admit. But as far as the graphics are concerned, I like them. I like the character models, even if again they are a little bit simplistic. I also like the colorblind aesthetic, giving it, like, it feels like it's colorful and vibrant, even if it isn't. I know that's a weird thing to say, but it doesn't look colorful and vibrant, but it has such a vibrancy to it. The music, the smoothness of the graphics and the movement of the characters, the transitions of the gameplay from mode to mode. There's almost no load times in this game. It has a life to it. It has a spark, it has a jump. And for that reason, I really enjoyed this game more than perhaps other people might, because again, it's all about attitude to me. It's all about the way that the game is presented to you within the sum of its, more than its sum of its parts, this game. Yes, the graphics may be a little on the retro side. Some of the character models might need a little bit of work, and some of the not voice acting, the narrative is a little bit, maybe a bit cheesy, but considering the subject matter, I imagine that's probably what they were going for. And yeah, the story is a little bit lacking in cohesion, but here's the thing. None of those things get in the way of the enjoyment factor of this game, and it comes back to what I say every single time in a review. Is the game fun? And this game is a ton of fun. The stages are fun to replay. The autosave could do with some work. It only saves at the end of each stage, so theoretically if you don't beat a stage, get to the boss and get beat, and you quit like I did, you then have to replay the whole stage, and again, a stage might take you an hour if you're not very good at this game. If you're good, then you can get through it in 10-15 minutes, but then you're stuck at the same boss. So maybe a revision of the autosave would be appreciated, or at least some save mechanics so I can save my progress. I've seen it in other games, so I can imagine it can be done here. I like the music. The music's fun, upbeat. I like the characters. Again, again, there's just such a sense of character from the developer. Once you go on the website, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. They've got a lore within each of the characters. You feel that there's an expanse of a world here, even if there isn't a lot presented to you. It's just a really great game, and I would heartily recommend it to anyone that's looking for a top-down twin-stick shooter that maybe feels a little bit different, has more of a fluid feel to it, has less weight, because for all its faults, you do take a lot of damage before you die, and you can certainly dish out a lot of damage. That super meter, for instance, while it's mapped to the open button, and that's dumb, that's so dumb, like every time I want to open the door, I've got to explode my super move. It doesn't really make much sense, but at the same time, I can forgive it its foibles because it does what it needs to in terms of entertaining you in those critical combat moments, and the combat is so much fun in this game. Again, it just feels, it has a uniqueness to it that I really appreciate. So, Super Ledgehop Double Laser! Have you played it? What were your thoughts? And what are some of your favorite twin stick shooters? Leave me some of your thoughts in the comments section below. But in the meantime, thank you very much for watching this edition of Two Beard Gaming's Risley Reviews. Please like, share and subscribe, and check out some of the other content over at Two Beard Gaming. Stay tuned next week for another review. I've been your host, Lorne Risley, and that has been The Beard! Do you think that was too much? I don't even have a beard. It's weird.